Do you think it helps you being a woman in the industry?
I just always encourage people not to attach themselves to their perceived disadvantages. I don't know anything about roofs. I mean, I gave up my whole life. I didn't do anything but hustle. Like, I just worked all the time. I didn't have a social life. I didn't do any of that. This person's straight up stealing your stuff. I actually never formally studied any like sales stuff out there. First of all, they said they wanted to murder me and wear my skin.
Have you ever had a sales job working for someone else?
I sold Cutco knives
Okay.
when I was 19 until I was like 21.
3 years?
Well, it was really more like 2 years, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Was it commission or hourly?
Straight commission, yep.
Tell me about that experience.
So this was after my sophomore year of college, and I came home for the summer to just work and like make some money before I went back to school. And I got a letter in the mail that was just a standard recruiting letter. They're like, you've been selected, to come in for an interview for this job.
Genius.
I know, it's very smart, makes you feel very exclusive. And so I was actually there in the kitchen with my parents and two of my friends from school, and they're like, that sounds like a scam, you shouldn't do it. My friend Laurel looked at it and she goes, yeah, I'm pretty sure this is like kitchen stuff. It's like a MLM thing, don't do it. My brother went for one of those interviews once, and I was like, I think I'm gonna go. So I went and did the interview, and I'm like, I can sell knives, sure. So I started selling knives, and within the first, I sold like almost $12,000 in my first 10 days, which was ridiculous. Like the big goal that nobody ever hits is 10K, and I did 12. Wow. And so I was like, I'm actually pretty good at this.
How do you sell knives? Door to door, friends, leads?
So they start you out with, it's just all referrals. So you start with your friends and family, and then when those run out, you have to be asking for referrals, which is like, an uncomfortable thing to do if you've not done sales. And so for that summer, I ended up selling maybe like 60 grand or something, made like $30,000. And then I'm like, I'm not gonna go back to school.
They pay that much? So 50% is?
Yeah, so you get up to FSM, which is field sales manager, and you make 50% after that. So wow. At the time, so it might have been a little bit less than 30 that I made because I had to get up to that
Sure.
that percentage mark. But I ended up thinking, I'm making a lot of money here. I'm really good at this. I don't think I'm gonna go back to school. So I dropped out of college, and then I ended up moving to Kansas City, like 2.5 hours away, where I knew nobody. And I built a completely referral-based business down there and ended up doing like $100,000 the next year.
How did working at Cutco influence you for the rest of your career, your own business?
Yeah, well, I have a ton to attribute to Cutco actually, because their sales training is so good. Like everything that I learned about sales, from like objection handling and closing and asking for referrals and stuff like that, Cutco just has a phenomenal sales training program. Wow. So that's stuff that I've carried, because sales is sales. Like if you know how to ask the right questions and handle specific objections, and you learn some sales psychology, you can pretty much take that anywhere. So that really paved the way, because when I got into storm restoration, roof sales, there was no training, right? So I'm like, what do I do? Like there was no training manual. So I really had to draw from Cutco stuff to kind of piece things together and make sense of the roof sales.
How did you get into roofing?
So I was about to get married, and my former husband and I were quitting Cutco because he'd been doing it for 6 or 7 years at that point. He was just burnt out, didn't want to do it anymore. And I was just along for the ride, like, okay, what are we doing next? And so we stopped selling Cutco for a couple months. We ended up having our wedding in June, and we had been recruited actually by somebody who at the time was the vice president of like the second largest storm restoration company nationally. And he used to do Cutco. So he was breaking off, unbeknownst to us, he was breaking off to start his own company, and he was headhunting Cutco salespeople and managers because we were just very well trained and good at what we do. So the storm had happened in April, and he's like, come out and work with us on the East Coast. Like we're working a storm out there. We didn't end up going out till July, but we're like, all right, we could probably do that. If we can sell knives, we can sell roofs. He said it'd be like shooting fish in a barrel. So we're like, that sounds easy. It wasn't in the beginning, of course, but that we just kind of got recruited. So
you wrote a book, Roof Sales Mastery.
Yeah.
How could you describe roofing sales? How roofing sales are different from other sales?
So what I always say, because there are a lot of people who have done sales before, but I'm on the phone with them all the time. They're like, I've done internet sales, or I've done insurance sales, or I've done door-to-door pest control or whatever, and I've just got into the roofing business and I'm not connecting the dots. And what I've found is for the roof sales job is different for a number of reasons. One, we have savage competition, right? Like you go out there and a storm is hit, you're the 10th person to knock on somebody's door. It's door to door, which is already kind of a challenging thing if you don't know what you're doing and you don't have balls, right? And the other thing is just there are so many moving pieces. Like if I'm gonna go to your house and try to sell you a vacuum cleaner, I go to your house, I do a demo, I ask the closing questions, done. Roof sales is like you're trying to first get your foot in the door, and you might be the 10th person that's knocked on that person's door. You have there's a lot of like frenzy around storm restoration. Like people are afraid, they've got their arms up, they're afraid of fly-by-night contractors, they don't want to be taken advantage of. You've got the insurance adjuster that's involved. So there's just more to it than I have a product, it's really great, here's how it works, do you want to buy it? So it's really just getting through all of the layers.
How important is product at all? Like percentage? Is it 20%? Is it 10%? Doesn't matter at all?
So people might disagree with me on this, but my attitude is the product in insurance sales, that's not the sale. It really isn't that important. Obviously, we do want to put a good product on the roof, but we're not selling roofs. What we're actually selling in storm restoration is our service to be a part of their insurance adjustment process, right? Because they could just file a claim and on their own have their adjuster come out, get a scope, it's going to be wrong, and then they can just hire a roofer and they could pick from what kind of materials they want and stuff like that. But what we're selling when we're going door to door is not, we've got lifetime shingles with such and such warranty. That's not what we're selling. We're selling, you need me throughout this process so that State Farm or Allstate or whoever doesn't give you the shaft and pay for 35% of what they actually owe you, right?
What do you do now?
I teach people roof sales. So Roof Sales Mastery is all online. I started it in 2014 after I wrote the book, Diamonds in the Sky, which is the introduction to storm restoration. And so I just busted my ass for a few years and created 6 different programs. So I've got 6 different programs for recruiting and sales training and supplementing Xactimate, stuff like that. So these days, I am #blessed because the programs are already made. I pretty much just continue to make content out on YouTube to inspire people and answer little questions here and there. I answer emails when people send me the SOS, like I need help learning how to do this job, or business owners are finally catching on to the fact that they have to have repeatable systems to scale their businesses. So it's really more selling my program, but fortunately for me, there's just so much social proof that the Roof Sales Mastery stuff works that I don't really have to even do that a whole lot anymore.
Would you call yourself a sales coach?
A sales coach? I've never referred to myself as that, but yeah, I mean, I guess so.
What's your title? Like, what do you teach? What's number one thing? If
I would say
sales
psychology. Sales psychology, and I've not formally studied any of those things, but I've always had a knack for I understand, like, oh, I know, I can see all the steps. I know that if I say this person could potentially think this or this, and therefore I have to say that. And if they respond this way, it's because they're afraid of X, Y, Z, therefore I have to include this information. So it's always been really easy for me to listen to people saying, people keep asking me for a bid, and then I'm like, okay, I can reverse engineer that and go, this is why they're asking you that, and here's what you have to say to prevent that objection. And obviously that applies to a bunch of different areas of the sales process.
Do you agree that sales fixes everything?
Sales fixes everything? Well, I wouldn't say fixes per se, but without sales, without good salespeople, think about the internet when the internet came out. People didn't know what it was. They thought it was a passing fad. Somebody had to go out and sell and market that to make it a thing. Thomas Edison invented the light bulb, but he probably wasn't the person that was going to go out and sell it, right? He was the genius behind the mechanics and putting it together. Sure. So salespeople are absolutely critical because we're the ones that go out, and it's funny because people always ask me really technical roofing questions, and I'm like, I don't know anything about roofs. They're like, you teach the industry, you're like the authority in the industry on teaching. And I'm like, no, I'm not. I teach selling it, but I'm not the one that knows about. I'm not the one engineering shingles and putting roofs together. I'm not putting the roof on. I don't know anything about that.
So you're best at your little niche. And
yes, value, right? Value proposition. So that's my wheelhouse.
So what do your programs look like? So pretty much it's scripts? Is it system? Is it describe to me your product?
So there's 6 different programs, okay? So they're all gonna be a little bit different. If it's a sales training program specifically, like for example, let's say an individual salesperson wants to self-study. They might do something like the Accelerator or the Advanced Sales Training Program. And those are basically big online libraries that are divided into sections for door knocking, referrals, handling objections, closing, et cetera. And that's where you're going to find videos and word-for-word scripts for all of that stuff. So they can go and read, here's exactly what I say when this. Here's exactly what my sales presentation is, word for word. But for business owners, it's going to be different. Like I'm not saying, business owners, I'm not teaching them here's exactly what to do and say. I am to a degree. But what I've done for programs like the Recruiting Machine or the New Hires Training or something like that, those are courses that are turnkey systems for business owners to implement in their business. So like if you just hired or you want to hire 10 new salespeople, it's a whole system that does include here's what the ad should say, here's what the interview should say word for word, here's what you should say on the phone, here's the process like the interview schedule, the recruiting schedule, yada, yada, yada. And then the new hires training would be similar to that as well. It's like now you have your classroom, here's the full system, here's what you say on day 1, here's the exercises you do, here's what you do on day 2, here's the book.
Have you ever run a company yourself? Like, have you ever actually have a roofing business?
So my former husband and I had a roofing company in St. Louis when we lived there.
Okay.
But I was still more the salesperson. I did sales training, but I wasn't formally like, I'm not the person running the books and dealing with any of that. My thing is sales. Like that's
what was your closing rate when you were in sales?
Honest to God, this sounds like a just ridiculous exaggeration, but I always say it was 90%, and honest to God, it was. Like after I got to a certain point, because everybody that's in storm restoration understands it's a no-brainer, right? I want to preface it with this. If you have damage on your house and you have insurance, and I come to you and all you have to pay is your deductible, is there any theoretical reason you should say no?
It's not even sales.
Virtually no, right?
Yeah.
So I would say in Cutco, my closing ratio was probably like 60%, but in roof sales, it was 90 easy. Like it was weird if somebody out of the blue didn't sign because it's such a no-brainer. Like we're selling a product that people already need and they don't even pay for it.
Do you think it helps you being a woman in the industry? Because guards are low and you just trustworthy person. Like for me, if I show up, it's like, who's this
Russian man?
Guy? Yeah.
So here's what I always say to that, because sometimes I'll get comments on my YouTube channel and that people say things like, well, it's easy for you because you're a girl, right? And I always like to say this, every single person has their own perceived advantages and disadvantages. Like you go, well, I'm a man, people don't want to open the door to me, but there's also more trust because of the industry. You look like, just because you're a man, you should know more about roofing. I knock on the door and maybe they might open the door easier because I look unintimidating, but I look like I should be selling Girl Scout cookies or Mary Kay. I was a 21-year-old kid in a yellow Dodge Neon driving around. I didn't know shit about roofing, right? I had no idea what I was doing. So I had to, if a man answers the door and I'm there telling him that this little 5'4", 115-pound girl is going to do something for their roof, they don't take me seriously. So I had to really get over that hurdle. Like that's the thing that people don't consider either.
Sure.
So whether you say, well, this person's more handsome than me, or they're smarter than me, or they have more experience, everybody has something. So I just always encourage people not to attach themselves to their perceived disadvantages, because you also have an advantage that I don't have. Like
Sure.
Everybody has their own.
Have you ever had people copying your products?
All the time. I constantly get emails from people and messages. They're like, this person's straight up stealing your stuff.
How many
like,
cease and desist letters have you sent, if you had to guess?
Honestly, I don't even bother with it, because the thing
Or
is...
emails or threats or like
definitely
stuff.
Yeah, I've
Like
sent.
I'm not saying like
four.
season 4.
4 or 5, something like that. I know for sure. It bothers me. It's annoying. 'Cause it's like I had to go through the School of Hard Knocks to put together. I mean, the time that I invested into roof sales mastery, like most people would never do it. Like it took so much time, right? But the way that I look at it is, if somebody has to steal my stuff, first of all, I feel bad for them, like that they don't have the fortitude or the intelligence to put something like that together, or they don't have value to sell on their own. But the other thing is, and I'm not tooting my own horn, but I know that my stuff has gotten so familiar to people, like it's just gotten such a good reputation that people know it's mine. So it makes them look bad when they steal my stuff, because what they don't see is all the emails and messages that I get on Facebook where people are taking screenshots and saying, this person's straight up stealing your stuff. Like we mentioned it to them.
So what do they do? They buy the program, they resell it, or they teach it, or?
I'm not sure how people are necessarily getting their hands on it. Like I don't know how they're doing it, but.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I can't stand it. It started happening to me 3-4 years ago.
Yeah.
I started seeing people downloading my YouTube videos.
Yeah.
It would be like drone shots, and you can see my company, Storm Group, in the shots.
That's like mine. It says Roof Sales Mastery.
Yeah.
Like,
and
are
they
you
would
stupid?
download it, re-upload it to their channels.
Yeah.
And then recently we have a company in town. So I've been doing Storm Group Roofing for 6 years.
Yeah.
I trademarked Storm Group Roofing, but I could not get Storm Group trademark.
Yeah.
We have a company in town, over 10 years in business. Their name was Better Solutions.
Yeah.
Last year they added Better Solutions, Storm Group. They just added Storm Group.
So that when people Google that, that's what pops up.
Exactly. Piggyback riding of the brand. And on the yard signs, you can see Storm Group at the bottom. So you go to Google now and you can see it. And we send them cease and desist. We hire lawyers, they hire lawyers. They claim they did not know. I'm like, we have 1,000 reviews online. You either stupid
Yeah.
or arrogant.
There's a lot of stupid, arrogant people.
Well, but
there.
if you're 10 years in business and you change a name,
right,
and you're adding something to your name,
full desperado. Like,
yeah, and you would not Google that. And if you do Google, you have 3 pages of results. You can't miss it.
Right.
Anyway, it pisses me off.
Yeah, it's annoying. But I feel bad. Like if you have to grab onto somebody else's coattails to try to be successful. Like obviously we're number one in that regard. Like, again, it's not like being arrogant about it, but if you have to copy me, like, you poor boy.
How far out are you planning your business, your life in general? Do you have like 3, 4, 5, 10 years? Do you know where you want to be in 10 years?
That's something I'm actually kind of in a season of life with. Like, what does Becca want? That's a question I keep asking myself, because my life, and you're probably a little bit similar because you're also like a huge go-getter, but I'm going to be 32 on Friday. So I started my sales career when I was 19, and I sacrificed, I gave up my whole life. I didn't do anything but hustle. Like, I just worked all the time. I didn't have a social life. I didn't do any of that. And so it 1000% paid off, because now I'm virtually retired, like semi-retired, and my business is pretty automated. So for the last couple of years, I've been kind of getting used to, like, I don't have to kill myself to make a living anymore. Like, it was actually weird. I've had anxiety for the last couple of years because I sort of don't know what to do with myself if I'm not constantly achieving. Mm-hmm. So I'm actually examining on a more personal level. I'm examining, like, okay, what is life about here? Because I sort of already did everything that I'm very proud of what I've accomplished, and I don't have to work to make money anymore, really. So what should I do? So I'm not really sure. I think that the direction that I'd like to go in, I'm really inspired to make content and share messages more about existentialism, like the purpose of life, and just helping people enjoy their lives more and understand why we're here. And I like studying Buddhist teachings and things like that. So I just made a new channel called Nirvana by Nature. And that's where I'm sharing more like life lessons and deep introspective insights and things that are inspired by psychedelic trips and stuff like that.
You're going to start your new religion or something?
Definitely not no religion at all, but just sharing. I think that there's a lot of suffering in the world, like whether it's just pressure we put on ourselves or boxes we try to fit ourselves into, or worrying about what we should do or what's right or wrong to do in life. And so as I go through life, and I've gone through my own big challenges, divorce or things like that. It's like traumas of different kinds, sharing information or sharing messages about just coping with life and not taking it too seriously is what I'm more inspired to move in a direction of.
You teach a lot. Where do you refill your cup? Like, who teaches you? Where do you learn?
Yeah.
Who motivates you?
Yeah, so this is going to be more of on a spiritual context. I listen to a lot of like Abraham Hicks, Mike Dooley, Thich Nhat Hanh, Alan Cohen, Alan Watts. So I actually really derive more of my inspiration from spiritual texts or like understanding ways of being. I this might come to a surprise, but I actually never formally studied any like sales stuff out there. I've never like studied Zig Ziglar, or I've maybe listened to 4 Tony Robbins videos in my whole life. I like their stuff when I hear it, but I don't really, everything just kind of comes from my own experience. So that's kind of where I've been with studying. My mentors
That makes sense.
Yeah.
For me, it's almost the same with the branding. Like, I love branding.
Yeah.
I study, case study, big brands, what they do. But for me, it's, I do it because I feel it. I'm
Exactly.
like, we should do it. Like, it just comes natural to you.
Yes.
And interesting. Have you ever bought online courses? Do you buy like online education?
Yes, of course. So I've purchased and invested in things by Brendan Burchard and Jeff Walker and Ryan Dice, and that's more for information marketing. Like when the concept of roof sales mastery was being birthed. Of course, I had to learn like how do you market stuff on Facebook and what does a sales funnel look like and stuff like that.
Sure.
So I've studied those. I've gone to some seminars. Those were back in 2014, 2015, and that definitely helped me just understanding like here's how to put together a sales funnel, and here's like what your ads should look like and stuff like that.
Best training you ever took?
Best training I ever took. I really enjoyed Brendan Burchard's seminar. I can't remember what it's called right now. Maybe it's called Experts Academy, I think. I loved that. And then Ryan Dice puts out amazing content for teaching.
How many people do you have on your block list on Facebook?
On my block list?
Your block
Jeez, on my personal Facebook?
Yeah. Personal or business?
Personal
what does it
business.
take to get blocked by you? What I have to do?
What would you have
or
to do?
Say?
Just like blatant. So most of the people, these are true stories. The people that I've mostly blocked on the company page are people who clearly are dealing with like a psychotic break of some kind. Like sometimes you would die if you saw the messages I got sometimes.
Trust me, I get them all the time.
People will send me like pager messages out of the blue, and it's like personal attacks, but they don't make sense. They'll be like, and I literally sit there and I'm like, I'm not even triggered by these because they make clearly no sense. This is somebody who's dealing with, like they're off their meds, right? And usually I either just don't respond. I don't really engage in stuff like that. Like there was a time when I was younger where I'd probably get really riled up about it and fire back something because I know I could burn them harder or whatever. I don't get a ton of those, honestly, but when I do, it's mostly just so that it's not taking up my time. Like I already get so many messages from people who have real questions from Instagram and YouTube and Facebook and my email and stuff like that, that if somebody's being absolutely ridiculous or crazy or threatening or something.
Give me an example of a hate comments you get on YouTube.
Hate comments. Okay, let me try to. So there was one person for a long time who kept saying that, first of all, they said they wanted to murder me and wear my skin, which it is really soft. I use Colorado Skin Trip lotion if you want to know it. It smells like coconuts. And I'm like, okay. And he kept saying things about like that I was scamming people or something. Like I was using my okay face to convince men to like buy my stuff. It turns out I had got a bunch of messages after from other people who go, this guy's a nut job. Like we get messages from him too. And I think he was trying to maybe start his own business, but he was just probably
Usually
attacking.
that's the case.
That's what it was. Like I went kind of, I didn't spend too much time on it, but I spent like 5 minutes just clicking around looking, and I'm like, okay, this guy is trying to get people to pay him to do supplements, and he probably just felt intimidated by like my purse. So I don't know. I've had a handful of those, but again, I really don't spend so much energy on it. It's hard for me to even give you specifics, but there are times where me and my assistant just like take screenshots of comments and like text them to each other, and we're like, what does this even mean? But
you know what's weird? You said now about that person maybe was trying to compete with you or start something.
Yeah.
I've noticed that like we have a lot of hate comments too.
Yeah.
And I remember first time ever 3 years ago I started Fittest Roofer Challenge.
Yeah.
Pretty much I put my own money in it. I said, I'll give you, first place will get $2,000. All you have to do it was lifting bundle of shingle above you, like from the ground up, I think 50 or 100 times. So it would take you about 7-8 minutes.
Right.
It's true fitness challenge. You're
Yeah,
gonna
it's
die.
hard.
It's very hard. Not many people
can
can
lift a bundle of shingles.
So it's 70 pounds. You pretty much lift it from the ground and all the way up. And there was one guy who was commenting everywhere. He would go, and you're talking about me sending money to winners. And I actually did it. I said 2,000 first place, 800 second, and 400 third place. And I sent money, people were happy. But this one guy, he keep commenting, roofers, don't do it. He just wants to break your backs. He does it for you.
Right, like this is his plan.
But check this out. 2 years later, I see that guy doing different challenge. So he's like 50 something. So he modified it. You have to do something shoulder and up, and I'm like, what the heck?
Where'd you get that idea, genius?
Exactly. It was so the most hate was coming from him. 2 years.
Yeah.
He wanted to do it. It was the weirdest thing.
It's the same thing. I mean, it's the same thing that happens like for roofers that go out and they're eating up a neighborhood. You know, they're just doing a great job with their door knocking. They're doing a great job getting referrals and stuff like that. And other roofers come in and they're threatened by that. So they want to take their signs, or they're going knock their signs on purpose and make up stuff and say, these roofers are ripping people off. So again, that's just like, those are people who I feel bad for them, because it's like the only chance at success that they think they have is taking down the people who are taking their business. And that's just I never have wasted energy on that. Like I genuinely feel bad for those people, because I'm like, if you just worked hard and were creative and went out there and put yourself out there like you do or like I do, you could also, with time, create a brand that people respect. But they don't realize that they're just making themselves look bad. Like they really are making a clown out of themselves when they do stuff like that.
You put a lot of content on the Facebook personal. Like I feel like you have no filters. I see Becca's emotions. I see dogs. I see drinking parties. I see work. You have no filters.
No.
Have you ever regretted posting something too personal? I've seen your videos crying. I've seen it all.
Yeah.
Have you ever deleted the video because you like it shouldn't post that?
No, I really believe in sharing the authentic human experience. Like to me, it's strange that we only show people our highlight reel, or we like try to edit out or censor what we share of our lives. And I think that's so strange. Like, shouldn't we share what our authentic life experience is and normalize things so that we're not triggered when we see a nipple on a picture or something? Like, I feel like there's just so much censorship around even our emotions, like our difficult things. People don't want to share what they're really going through. Everybody's going through some shit, right? So whether it's a death of a pet or a loved one, or a suicide, or a divorce, or a bankruptcy, or whatever it could possibly be. And the fact that we don't share, like, hey, I'm going through something, here's what I'm learning from it, here's how I'm genuinely feeling right now, whether you feel hopeless or upset or angry or whatever. The most positive feedback I've ever gotten in my whole life was when I've shared super raw emotions and experiences that I'm going through.
Did it help you?
Online? Yes, so much, because I would get, so normally you share something positive and people are like, you get a couple likes, maybe a couple comments, right? But when you really share something raw and vulnerable about your life that's personal, there are times I probably got 100 messages from people who are like, thank you so much for sharing that. You have no idea how healing that was for me. I'm going through XYZ, like I felt so alone. So I just want to share. I don't really even think about it. I'm just being super authentic and honest. Like, here's my life. I party, I meditate, I work out, I cry. Like, this is everything that's going on with me. And I think it gives people permission to share their authentic experience as well. So I think it's important to do that.
Love it.
Yeah.
You're a woman in a male-dominated industry. Give advice to other girls, women out there who may be trying to get in. I know I've talked to a lot of women in the industry, and I know men are ruthless.
Yeah.
I see it in my comments. Sometimes I would interview a woman in comments. I would be like, "Your place is in the kitchen," and immediately for me,
I get those.
You're getting deleted from our community, blocked, everything.
Right.
Give advice.
So the first thing is just like, put your blinders on. Like, you don't have to pay attention or worry about what other people think. And again, people are intimidated by, I think, sometimes women that are in a space. Like I probably should have mentioned that when we were talking about hate mail, right? It's like I get comments like that, just get in the kitchen, blah, blah. I'm like, okay, like I make literally 100 times as much money as you do in 5 minutes a week. So, you know, it can be like an ego thing if you get involved with that. So I say, stay away from that. And just remember that there's a quote by Dr. Seuss that I really like, and hopefully I don't mess it up, but he says, you have brains in your head, you have feet in your shoes, you can steer yourself any direction you choose. Whether you're a woman or a man, we have hands, feet, brains in our heads, and we can talk. And that's literally all you have to do to be successful at whatever it is that you want to go after. So don't think about the fact that you're a woman. Just go out there and kick ass and let your results speak for itself. Like, you don't have to answer to anybody. You don't have to, you know, I didn't go in being like, I'm going to beat the boys. I just went in and was like, I'm going to kick ass and do my best. And this is what happens when I do that. And yes, I happen to be a woman, but who cares?
Love it.
Yeah, like women can be great at sales. Like, you know, we were talking about advantages and disadvantages earlier. Of course, I'm sure that a lot of people would agree that getting your foot in the door as a female might be a little bit easier than being a man. So use that, you know, and then just do your best, forget the rest.
Love it. Awesome advice. You seem like a person who really figured out work-life balance. I feel like
I'm working on it.
I wanted to ask, I ask most people, everybody who I interview,
Yeah.
You're one of those people who, to me, seems like what I see on social, you party too much, almost, so I'm a workaholic. I live very little, I work too much. I know it was you a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
Where is it now? Is it 80% fun, 20% work?
Well, so when you say fun, what do you mean first? What's the definition? Are you talking about like partying and going
No.
out?
Fun meaning like you don't have to work, like just
Right.
enjoying life in general, traveling. I don't know, just being not at work.
Not working. Oh, so
Not
anything
working.
that's not working.
Yeah.
90% at least, I would say.
90%.
And I'm super
How many hours do you
blessed.
work per week?
People don't want to hear this. Literally like maybe 5. And that's, I didn't get to that point like instantly, right? There was a time where I was working 16 hours a day, 7 days a week, not sleeping, not eating, literally just crushing my life, right? And I mean, my relationships suffered during that time. You know, my friendships fell by the wayside, but I was okay with that season of hustling during those years because now it's like I'm truly living the Tim Ferriss 4-hour work week, right? Mm-hmm. Which I love and I feel so fucking grateful for because that's something that everybody's trying to achieve. And with the way that I've structured my business, I can help so many people with the work that I've already done. I don't have to constantly be involved in it. So these days, I probably work about 5 hours a week just doing sales calls, answering emails. I do have an assistant now that helps me with the admin stuff because those are the things that was taking up most of the time.
So she works full time?
So he works, well, he doesn't even have to work full time either. Like he's got a pretty relaxed schedule too, but mostly it's just answering, you know, I wake up in the morning and I've got 25 emails from people that are like, help me, and you know, I need help with this, or I've watched you, you know, blah, blah, blah. So at this point, my daily life is mostly about health, well-being, and learning. Like I get up, I don't set an alarm, I wake up whenever I sleep like 10 hours, walk my dog for a few miles on the trail, which I'm usually making content when I do that. That's why you always see my videos. I'm out there in like sports bra, like talking on the trails, but I do my best thinking during that time. Come back, read, you know, a chapter of a book, practice some Spanish or something like that. And then I go work out or do some yoga and then do some more reading or listen to a book on tape. And then I'll do, you know, a couple sales calls or a podcast. And then in the evening, I usually eat dinner and sit down and I'll answer some emails and comments and stuff like that, just to make sure I'm staying engaged and keeping up with everybody's needs. So
you know,
that's my life.
I achieved that in my roofing company. I worked like 5 hours a week there.
Good for you.
But I couldn't sit still, so I created 2 more businesses so I can work 60 hours a week again.
Right.
Thank you, Roofing Insights.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, that's what I did. Like this year, I have a team of 5 people working for me full time.
That's awesome.
At Roofing Insights, and just we're chasing dreams. We're trying to influence the industry, interviewing awesome people. I have to ask, what's up with the colors?
The colors on my body?
Well, yeah, yes.
I just like colors.
You like colors?
Yeah.
Purple, pink.
They're just my thing.
Okay.
Yeah. My hair, I don't think I'll ever not have purple hair now. I just like it.
Okay.
Yeah.